everybody, and welcome to Electric City Sentai Denzicaster, your weekly look into the wonderful world of Tokusatsu. I'm your host, Mike, and I'm joined by
Andrew,
Rob,
Will. I'm usually slightly more prepared than this, unless you've watched this show before, in which case you know I'm lying through my teeth. We just got done watching episodes.
don't feel bad. Our show's never fucking prepared. Shit.
Will, of course, from Chopsaki Cinema, which has the number four rated episode on our channel right now. So
How?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, man. I don't know.
If you haven't had a chance yet, and if it's still under 200 views, go check out their review of the 2002 South Korean flick Old Boy. That video rocketed up to nearly 200 views faster than anything else on our channel has ever done. I'm fairly certain that I can say that by comparison, the Spike Lee version of Old Boy will not. I found it funny. I do research for y'all's show, believe it or not.
I'm sorry.
Well, no, when I type up the descriptions to post them up, I'll put in things like whether it won awards and who the stars were and things like that. And the thing I ran across that I thought was very funny about the 2013 version of Old Boy, I guess when that one came out, that movie got tampered with by the studio so much that's why it doesn't say on it a Spike Lee joint.
Yep.
It says a Spike Lee film.
Yep.
Because he didn't want his trademark phrase put on it because he just hated what they did to it. So, what we are not talking about today is a Spike Lee joint. What we are talking about today is episodes 3 and 4 of Garo, the One Who Shines. I'm not going to butcher the pronunciation of the Japanese name again. Exactly. So, episodes 3 and 4. Episode 3 is a Dungeon, and episode 4 is Dream. If we haven't mentioned this before, Garo is not a show aimed at kids. So
you figured that one out real easy in the third episode.
So in the spirit of Chopsaki Cinema, episode 3, Dungeon, aka Hooray for Boobies, basically is nude women that are in actuality the hands of a greater horror, luring people into a warehouse, read dungeon, where this horror that has grown so incredibly huge and cannot leave the building can feed on them. And episode 4, Dream, basically revolves around our two female leads, Rian and Inho, who is the captain of SG-1, the town police force for all intent and purpose. So, Will, you were not on the first episode we talked about this. You were obviously here in the room, but you weren't on the episode. What's your first impression of Garo, the One Who Shines?
I actually like it. I do actually like it. I think it seems like it's got a lot of different potential. Mm-hmm. And I do like the fight scenes. Mm-hmm. The fight scenes are actually really fun, and I actually like the way Garo's armor is designed.
Yeah.
And the armor that you get to see in the third episode, I'm sorry, I immediately thought of Guyver.
Who?
Guyver.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Guyver, okay.
And if I'm talking funny, it's because I had 3 teeth pulled earlier in this week.
Yeah.
So, hence the reason why I sound like I do, and I'm literally talking out of one side of my mouth.
That'll be A-okay. We're not gonna hold that against by any means.
And occasionally I'll put ice back against my mouth.
funny enough, you mentioned Guyver for him. I actually was driven more toward not only that, but we mentioned Ronin Warriors earlier. I thought of Strata.
Yep.
Just from the whole scene with the moon and everything being involved with that, that was the first thing I thought of was Strata from Ronin Warriors.
Because when they immediately showed him and the other guy in his armor, I was like, okay.
And just so we know, because I've been flipping through here trying to figure out, the knight that we see on in episode 3, Augury, aka the Dick, we'll get to that in a minute, is Guy the Skybow Knight. Every different knight has a name and something to go with it. So Garo is Garo the Golden Knight. And there have been various other ones over time. Well, it is Guy the Skybow Knight, and the other guy's going to get his kick-ass armor later. So we'll talk about it when we get there. So, what did we think of these couple episodes? Just your first blush, Andrew.
Lots of titties, and then I was wrong. That guy is a dick.
Well, which guy? You're going to have to narrow it down. There are lots of assholes and dicks in this show. So,
The Skyboat Knight.
Skyboat. Okay, so Guy.
Yeah.
Guy is the dick.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Guy from Gokaiger, which is what the cool dude actually played. That was one of the confusing things when I watched the show the first time. I was like, okay, so hold on. Guy is not Guy. Guy is, I think it's Zen in the show, but Guy is Zen, and the asshole is Guy. Okay, or no, it's Baron, something like that. I forget, but anyway. What do you think? First impressions, Rob?
I really liked both episodes, 3 and 4, because I guess they took time to focus on specific characters that we've met. You know, of course, 3, you learn a little bit more specifically about the Archer. Is his name again?
The Archer? Mm-hmm. We'll just call him Guy for the sake of it.
We learn a little bit more about him. We learn he's he's a butthole, but he's kind of a by the books butthole. You know what I mean? So he scolds again a name the other female
Rianne.
Yeah, he scolds her for not speaking to him in a certain way over the little intercoms and things like that, and he's really cocky, and you kind of learn that he has a specific skill set, and he's very aware of his specific skill set, and very proud of that. In episode 4, we learn, of course, about Rianne, a little bit more about her, as well as the captain of SG-1. So I like how each episode is very focused on each of those characters and gives us a little bit more about them specifically. So.
Yeah, that's a common trend to tokusatsu shows is the introduction of characters in the first few episodes. You'll get introduced to everyone generally in episode 1 or 2. But then you're going to get the character focus episodes for about the next 3 or 4 episodes, depending on how large the cast is. In shows like a Super Sentai or Kamen Rider show, a lot of that is going to be built around introducing the toys, because that's the driving force. I've often said on this show that never, ever forget that you are watching essentially a 25-minute toy commercial. Garo, I mean, there are toys for it, but that gets scaled back a lot because of who the target audience is. This show aired at 11 p.m. in Japan. It's not aimed at kids by any stretch of the imagination.
See aforementioned boobies.
Yes. So there is that. So I think here we're never going to get the toyetic properties that you would normally associate with a Toku show, but you are still going to get those focus episodes, which I think is really, really cool.
And that's kind of what I'm enjoying about the few episodes that I've seen so far is the fact that you are getting more character involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, first impressions for just this couple episodes.
I do actually like. I do like the way what Rob was saying about the character development. Let me take this sound. Sorry, but I do like, as Rob was saying, the character development that develops when those you actually get to see the third guy actually do something. You get to see the guy actually do something this time instead of just kind of like skulking in the background,
right?
And just being there. I do like the interaction at the very beginning of the 4th episode with the captain. What's her name?
Inho.
Inho.
Yes.
With her and Ryuga in the opening little bar scene where basically they don't know it, but apparently they're hunting the same horror. She's not really aware that he's a horror, the dude's a horror, and then Ryuga shows up and
the steakhouse.
The steakhouse. Yeah, it was I like that. I like that a lot, and they showed a good bit of development between those two, and even like an underlying story with her as well.
Mm-hmm. So just hitting on a few things. One of the things we didn't talk about in the first couple of episodes was we talked about a lot of the visuals, but we haven't talked a little too much about the sound design on this show. The music in Garo is really unique for a Toku show to me. There's a lot of most tokusatsu shows you get a lot of driving guitar, you get a lot of action-y music, and there's certainly plenty of that here, but I get a lot of Western country guitar vibes.
Yeah, especially Steakhouse.
Yeah. They said a lot of that there to kind of set the vibe for the steakhouse. Yeah.
But you still get some of that, even when Ryuga it will be off by himself, and we'll see him like wake up in a park on a bench randomly. There'll be the little guitar riff in the background. That's very country western.
I don't know if I can actually make this comparison or not, but Ryuga actually kind of, in a way, reminds me of, I guess it'd be High Plains Drifter.
Okay.
And in a way, he reminds me of
Kind of gives you that cowboy sense.
Yeah, that whole cowboy sense. Like he's got the long trench and like the whole loner. I'm just passing through.
Almost like kind of like the man with no name, where he's going to roll into town, he's going to set things right, and he's going to roll right back out.
Yeah,
I can get that. I've never really thought about that before.
But I mean, once you when you start to say that and noticing the thing with the steakhouse and the way the music set the scene and the mood for that. And then the quite legitimate cowboy sitting in the steakhouse. I was like, kind of like, huh. I was like, maybe they're actually. And then when you made that comparison a second ago about the music, it was like maybe they are trying to go for like a western feel to it, like a western vibe to it.
Or at least put that little bit of tug at the string a little bit in the back of your mind. That kind of think of it this way without really putting it in your face. I guess.
What about the monsters in this show? Because here's something that you think about. Monsters in most tokusatsu shows will follow a certain theme. You will see some common thread between them all. That you throw that shit straight out the window.
All over the place.
Yeah, I mean, the first episode, the actual monster of the week is a bouquet. The second episode, the monster of the week was a person, like actually a legitimate person. In this one, in episode 3, the monster of the week in reality.
Naked chicks.
It was a big blob.
blob.
It's a massive blob, and in episode 4, your monster of the week in reality came out of a radio.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, with it being all over the place, what do you think of this? The monster could be anything mentality that Garo kind of brings to the table.
I like it. I mean, it's a lot different from what I'm used to seeing with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is actually keeping me like very, very interested.
Mm-hmm. They have one episode in one of the earlier Garo series where the monster is an entire building. Yeah.
This is one thing it just kind of clicked a second ago, where you mentioned that the horrors themselves are manifested from the evil and hatred in the human heart. Well, each one of these monsters of the week can represent a vice of humans. The one coming out of the radio, dependency on electronics, or transmission of misinformation or something like that through radio or TV. The big monster, gluttony, things like that. Kind of that whole second sin kind of
like
thing.
A combination of gluttony and lust.
You get greed in the first couple episodes.
Even the bouquet, when he first learns about the bride, and he puts his ear to the pedal, she says it's not about love, it's about money. So it comes from greed. Kind of that whole, each one is based on a kind of a sin kind of thing. So I can kind of see that with each individual one. So.
And I've always been entertained by the idea, and this is one of those things that we were talking while we were watching, that Keita Amamiya, who is the creator of Garo, had a huge hand in Jetman, considered one of the greatest Super Sentai shows of all time, one that I know you're going to be watching at some point. One of the worst theme songs ever.
It's stuck in your head so easy.
Jetto. Anyway, but the one of the things that was true in Jetman was damn near anything could be the monster. Anything from ramen noodles to building. Oh yeah, nothing was off limits in that show. And that kind of spills over to Garo a lot. It could be a wristwatch, it could be a building, it could be a naked chick that's apparently taking prostitution to a whole nother level. You name it. It could be virtually anything.
That was the thing I was like telling Rob a second ago, to remind me of the mimics in the new Prey game.
Okay.
And that might be where they got the essentially part of the idea for the mimics is from Garo shows like that.
Yeah, it could be. What do we think of Guy? Because we get a heavy focus on him in one of these episodes. We kind of get the idea of Ryuga that he's the High Plains drifter of Toku heroes, which is actually a proud tradition, believe it or not. But what do we think of Guy? Because he is, I think, I like the comparison you make, Rob, where he's almost like this stick up his ass by the book officer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
yeah, he would be the asshole lawman. Like that guy that
The lawful good paladin.
yeah, I guess. But I guess I guess more like Wilder from Tombstone. The way that right when I'm not like all the way leading up to it, but that point where he's in town, he flashes the marshal's badge, and he just basically says, "I'm coming through. I'm killing anybody I see wearing red. I killed the man wearing it."
Yeah, the thing I picked up with the guy is, he's very by the book. He's very aware of what he's able to do, and he's very aware that he's the only one that's able to do that particular skill set. So I guess that kind of adds to his arrogance. And I don't know if it's because Ryuga's there, or if because of this is the way he's always been. So I don't know if Ryuga shows up, so he takes it as, okay, I need to stiffen up a little bit for the new guy or something like that. Maybe he doesn't trust him or something like that, because they're already butting heads a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see if he loosens up, or if he's always like that, or if he's just like that until he kind of gets Ryuga in line. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He already talked down to him, saying that we have. He calls him useless. He says we got Garo here who has lost his golden luster. So he knows more than he leads on.
Right.
And it's hard to see at this point whether or not he's just trying to be hard nosed to try and get him where he needs to be. If that makes sense. So.
It does. What do we think of Guy, the asshole? What is the impression you're getting out of him so far?
Yeah. Oh man. So I was definitely wrong, like I was saying. He's definitely the bigger dick of the bunch. But he knows that he is the only one that can do what he's doing.
Right.
That pisses me off.
So it doesn't piss you off that he's good at what he does and that he's arrogant. It pisses you off that he's arrogant because he knows how good he is.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that to a point. Every time one of y'all says, he's got this specific skill set, I suddenly have this vision of Guy going on a path of bloody vengeance through France looking for his daughter. So, and
you keep using that phrase because he used the same phrase,
yeah.
Right? Right, but he orchestrated the whole setting up of the glyphs and everything. Mm-hmm. So you obviously know that he's smart in that aspect of it, as well as he knew how he had to have him set up for the archery setup, because you see him make that shot and it goes all over the city and then it goes underneath it. So it wasn't a simple setup, I guess you could say. So
I think what strikes me the oddest about the character at this point in the show is the Mackay Knights. Now, by their nature, they're often lone heroes. Mm-hmm. So it is a little odd and different to see them have to function as a unit. Mm-hmm. But I think what strikes me, though, the strangest is up to this point in the other shows, when you do see more than one knight having to work together, there is either this instinctual cue or a certain amount of communication. There is none with him. He is barking orders and expects everyone to follow them, which I think just is one of those things where I look at him and think of him as he is easily the most antagonistic of the protagonists in this show. I would go so far to use something we talked about in the first episode we discussed, Garo. He carries himself like the Sixth Ranger of the show, where a lot of times when the Sixth Ranger comes in a lot of Super Sentai shows, a lot of times he is very antagonistic. He is the rival. He is some cases he's outright the bad guy for a little bit, what have you. But he usually comes in as being super sure of himself and better than you at everything you do, and goes from there. So,
which is another reason why I'm wondering if that's specifically because of Ryuga. If Ryuga shows up and he stiffens up and he's like, all right, this new guy's here. I gotta show him who's the boss around
gotta
here.
give him the pecking order.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
we get a little more on Guy, not Guy. Well, I'm thinking Guy is in Junya Ikeda. But Takeru is the human form name. We get a little more on him. What did we think of the womanizingest superhero ever in a tokusatsu show? Because he straight up is a womanizer from pretty much beginning to end. I mean, there ain't too much you can say where it's...
It'll be interesting to see if he evolves as a character, because at this point in the show, they're showing the womanizing part as a liability.
Mm-hmm.
To show that he hears about the naked women, he goes off looking for them, and he always plays it off as they're trying to find the whore, and he almost not only gets himself killed, but almost puts his team in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see if he takes this experience and evolves from that, or if it's just how he is, if he's just going to be like this.
It feels to me like they play Takeru and they play Agri, Guy, as opposite sides of the same coin. Here you have the Makai Knight that is so laid back, it's frustrating. On the other hand, you have the one with the stick shoved so far up his
Very
ass that it's ridiculous. What did you think of Takeru, our womanizing knight, Will?
Kind of like it, Mike. Just for the simple fact that he is laid back, and he is basically the polar opposite of Guy as well. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of like him. Just the way he carries himself is like his swagger, if you will. When he goes into a situation, he's going in feet first and sometimes head first. It seems like a majority of the time in the past 4 episodes, head first, and usually head first into a brick wall. But it seems like he has a plan. He's not really sure what that plan is, but he has the start of a plan, and I'm gonna work the rest of the way out as soon as I get into the situation.
At least 17%.
Yeah, it's like I have something.
It always
That's
involves
not a plan at all.
So, looking at our 2 female leads, we have Inho, who is our SG-1 captain. We have Rian, who is our priestess. And we see them meet up in a bar, and we get to see exactly how capable they are. What is your impression thus far? This is the most we get of these 2 characters really up to this point.
Well, yeah. Now that you're actually getting to see what they can do, I'm pretty excited because it's you got one of them that's all kinds of just badass, and oh god, I can't actually remember the SG-1.
Inho?
And so she's sitting there. She gets really pissed off that she gets slapped.
Seemed real despondent about that.
Yeah, that was great. And then you got the other one. She's in between still being a kid about things and then still following orders. She being the priest, she can do most of the stuff pretty well, but I'm guessing it's not gonna boil down to she can do it right on the spot. I think she's gonna freak out and
Kind of break, perhaps,
Yeah.
at some point. Are Rian and Inho just the toned down versions of Guy and Takeru?
I can definitely see that because Rian feels very, the best way I can say is kawaii tough. She went to that little fight very sure of herself, but at the end of it, she's just she's
Right.
very cutesy about it, if you will. But she knows she is tough as well. Inho, just like Guy, she's very by the books, and I think when you mentioned the slap in the face, I think that goes to show maybe how long she's been in command, because she hasn't had anybody not only back talk her, but put a hand to her. So she's
Right.
like, she's not used to getting that kind of force showed against her, I guess you could say, in a kind of a casual manner like that. So
Just keep following the line,
yeah,
basically.
exactly. So I guess that can kind of show how long she's not only been in that militaristic situation, but also how long she's been in command of that group as well. So
The one thing that I think interested me the most about her in these couple episodes was it basically took Ryuga not just standing up to her, but outsmarting her men and doing so in such a way that no one got hurt to actually earn her trust and respect. I think you can see that level of ability. That's what gets her respect, I think.
yeah.
So now, real quick, because on this show, if we don't talk about the costumes, we have fallen down on the job. We do get a real good look at Guy in this, the actual armor suit guy. Somebody said they got a bad Guyver vibe off of this. So,
I'd say bad guy.
well, when I say bad, I mean you got the Guyver vibe. What about it struck you as being the Guyver? Because that is, well, it was asymmetrical.
Yeah,
on one side.
but no, that's immediately what as a comparison, that's immediately what struck me as soon as I saw it. It was just like I just saw a flash of it because
I can kind of see that because you saw Ryuga's armor and it was very metallic, had a lot of sharp edges and things like that. And then you see Guy's armor, and just from what we saw of it, it looked very organic.
Yeah.
Between the two, the vibe I always get off of Garo's armor, which is one of the things that makes it fascinating to me as a design in a tokusatsu show, is it always strikes me as this very European feeling armor. Yeah. Whereas if you look at Guy's armor, Guy's had a much more Japanese aesthetic to it, with like the skirt armor and so on. So that was the vibe I got off of it, and I didn't think of the one thing more of a Guyver thing. I thought of it almost as like the crest, the asymmetrical crest you would get on a samurai helmet type look.
Yeah, it has the Oni look to the helmet and everything as well.
Like I said, I'm sorry, I was.
You caught the silhouette of it.
Yeah, I caught the silhouette of it because, well, I was kind of with an ice pack to the side of your face.
For sure.
Thing.
But it did, even though it did have the aesthetics of the samurai armor, it still felt very organic and not as metallic as Ryuga's armor did. So.
Absolutely. If there's something in here that you have to poo-poo on, what's it going to be? I know what mine is, truth be told.
Oh God, that's a toughie. This is by far one of the most entertaining things I've watched.
I can tell you that there's a significant part of episode 4 that just outright bothers me watching this, and I think it's the only episode that does it the entire run. So I'll go ahead and get mine out of the way so they can think. The POV shots in episode 4. So much of that episode is shot from the point of view of another character in the room. For instance, the scene in the steakhouse is shot almost entirely from the horror's point of view. When we walk into the base, we are in Ryuga's point of view, which he then walks into his own point of view, only to turn around and it be another POV shot from him long enough for Tucker to come up and be, you son of a bitch. We should mention that we get Ryuga's idea of a distraction in this show, which is throwing his friends in front of moving vehicles.
Yeah.
But did you die?
Yeah. So, if there's something that just doesn't sit well, Will, what is it?
Oh man, you have to come back.
You got anything?
I always pay attention as someone who, not just from like a costume standpoint, I pay attention to certain things every time I watch any show or any movie. And my wife will tell you this. I'll giggle at certain things and even serious movies. I always pay attention to military type things with firearms and things like that. So the one thing that kind of always I giggle about is when they take specific liberties with firearms, or when using or not using, like we mentioned, when they were shooting down the hallway and their own men come around the corner, they continue shooting down the hallway.
Right.
Or when the one guy pulls out his gun, fires his gun, and everybody's standing there looking with a gun at their hip. Or when he comes up and she's got two hands on her gun, Ryuga pulls the slide off the top of it. And I giggle at little things like that, because then I know how all those mechanisms work.
The whole thing about where the clip falls out. You
That's
never see him reach his finger
Well,
down.
that's very easy to do on those. It's very easy to do, but the whole slide just coming out, that's a little more tricky.
It's like, it's the whole thing, but you see his hand, all you see is him grab it and then just move forward. It's like, it's not even like long enough for him to even eject the fucking slide.
Little things like that are what kind of make me giggle with stuff like this, is when they take liberties with military type things with firearms and weapons and things like that.
I will say,
I can only do that too. So.
I will say, I don't think them shooting down the hallway and their own men shooting around the corner and then continuing to shoot, I don't think that's a gaffe. I actually think that was a conscious decision, because when that happens, you see Ryuga start moving the men out of the way of the gunfire.
Yeah.
So
that was more or less like a test to see if he would have actually tried to.
No, I think the men were legitimately that stupid.
Yeah.
But
that's true. And I can see that from a few different standpoints. One, showing that it's not just a kind of a silly thing that they're putting in the show. It's maybe not showing that how inexperienced some of the military guys are. You kind of compare it to stormtroopers a little bit. Not all of them are the best trained guys.
Well, and the reason I say it's not a case of. I don't think it was a case of the producers and the directors going, just keep shooting, it'll be fine. I don't think it was that. I think it was actually a legitimate writing choice.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense. I can understand that, especially given that scene was how it came for Inho to actually trust him.
Right.
So, especially when they're still pulling the trigger, even though they were all out of bullets.
Yeah.
It's just like,
let's get these 8 shots out of this revolver.
Yeah. I'm waiting for one of them to throw the gun. Anything, or are you just eating this up with a spoon at this point?
Pretty much.
Okay. Is it the boobies that's doing it for you?
A little bit.
Okay, fair enough. So, don't hurt yourself, Will.
it's a little too late for that.
So, the one more thing, we'll touch on a couple more quick things, and then we're going to be out with this one. What about our boy throwing his friends into traffic?
It's the safest way.
You end up seeing that the car swerved, but also too, you don't know what's going through his mind. You don't know if he's just like, okay, yeah, I trust this guy's ability to where I know he's not going to die, or like, I don't like this guy enough to care either way. So I mean, you kind of don't know yet what his mentality is, because
toss?
I think it's kind of a coin toss, where he's like, either way. I don't care what happens here.
It's like, either way, I'm still going to be fine.
Yeah, this is going to serve my purpose. I don't care what happens. So, but again, you're unsure at this point whether or not that's really going through his mind. But you can tell that he did that based upon he's just trying to get his own agenda done with, regardless of what happened there. Anybody could have been standing there, and I think he still would have pushed him. So.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit of the overarching plot out of here too, I think, because we have in the first couple episodes we learn about the Mado horrors, and we are told they're being created by somebody. In this, we see what, as far as we know, is a dream sequence of Inho eating someone's soul or their essence, being forced to do so. We see her wake up out of bed. She gets up. But we see the drip of soul saliva coming off of her lips.
As well as she finds the hair on the thingy.
Yeah.
So, where do we think this is going?
Oh, man. Somebody's going to get hurt.
Well, no shit. But, I mean, that's what kind of show this is. But, over under, do you think she's hallucinating all this crap, or do you think they're actually...
Somebody's taking over.
Okay. What do you think of this whole development?
I think it's one of those situations to where you're, for the lack of a better analogy right now, trying to lure somebody to the dark side, if you will. We learned from the gentleman in the second episode. He was the Mado horror, and you learned that from as far as we can tell, he willingly became Amato horror, because he was talking to somebody mentioning, what is this thing that you have made me? So as far as we can tell, it was kind of a willingness that he was able to do that. So I think that you kind of have a twofold thing where you have to make one of those. It's either someone either willingly gives themselves, or you turn that person in some way. So I think these are little things that are causing her to kind of question herself and kind of draw her to become a little more willing to become a Mono horror, possibly. So,
what do you think, Will?
I think it's more or less her questioning her own reality, to be honest, because here's something that she obviously, from the shock of it, she's never seen this happen before, doesn't even know what's going on, witnesses this, and then it plays out again in that kind of the same way in a dream that she has about herself doing or being forced to it. So either it's something about the reality something about her own reality is she's questioning, or something's sneaking into her dreams or like influencing her dreams to be like, maybe you're one of these too. That kind of thing. It's like you don't know until you try, and that's where you get the whole hand like forcing it down.
Right. Now, in the steakhouse, did they actually see the one guy's soul getting pulled out?
Yes.
Or did they just see like him die?
That's something about the show I've never actually questioned. And they never, I don't think, explicitly state whether or not just anyone can see that soul, or do you have to be somehow sensitive to it? Do you have to be a Mackay Knight or priest, or do you have to be a horror? I would assume from their reaction that they actually saw it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have saw him kneel on his hands and knees for some weird reason, and this guy
slurping at the floor. Yeah. So, where do we think it's going? What are we looking forward to?
More character development.
Yeah.
And also, the last two people getting their armor, and whether or not Iho is either a horror or just maybe she's, I guess, for lack of a better analogy, force sensitive with this kind of thing, and she becomes a priest as well, or warrior herself.
Okay. What about you?
I'm definitely wanting to see where it goes with her. That's the biggest thing. It looks pretty interesting.
What about you, Rob? What are we looking forward to?
Same thing with her. I'm always looking forward to seeing more armor, more abilities, things like that. Seeing Ryuga discover a little bit more about his abilities, get the shine back, if you will. But I am looking forward to seeing what direction they take with her, whether or not she is trying to be tempted in some way, or if she is already a horror in some form, or like if Will said, if she's just kind of sensitive to it and just kind of things are starting to kind of click and do weird things in her head because of that.
So simple question here: are we in for the ride?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So I suspect we'll be finishing this one off at some point, folks. So the series runs, I think it's 24, 25 episodes. So not an especially long series, but we got some more to go on it. So look forward to some more Garo, the one who shines in darkness, coming up here on Denzicaster. So, folks, of course, all our usual stuff. Please share, like, subscribe, all the wonderful things you do on the internet. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook. Check those addresses up right after the flip. And check us out on Cafe Press. It's cafepress.com/ECS Network. That's our store where you can pick yourself up some cool t-shirts and hats and other such swag and help us out here at the channel. We are getting... we need to get new cameras. We need to get... I just need to pay off this computer. We need to get stuff to watch, because one of the things, there's more and more domestic tokusatsu releases coming out, and we are trying to get them as they come out as best we can, so that's always helpful too. Look forward to some more Johnny Sacco in the future. I think we're actually doing a taping where we're going to do some Johnny Sacco real soon, so that ought to be fun. So, with all that said, folks, hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Mike.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Rob.
Will.
And we'll see you next time on Denzicaster.